So let's talk about bootstrapping. I think it's super awesome. Like anytime I hear about, SaaS companies that have achieved scale and especially bootstrapping it, it's certainly very hard to build a SaaS company because, there's a ton of upfront R&D. And then, when you do start getting customers, typically it's like small chunks of money on a monthly basis. It's not like you're selling a big consulting contract where you have a huge down payment. So, it takes a while to kind of get the steam engine going. To be profitable. So why did you bootstrap? Why didn't you raise capital? And, how did you fund the company? Like how did all that get going?
Cash flow. Cash flow. Did you clear your cash flow?
I have Saravana Kumar here today from Kovai.co. You're the founder and CEO. It's really interesting. You were just telling me about how you bootstrapped this company over the last 13 years to 3 products and 300 people. That's super impressive. I want to dive all into the details of that and, how and why you bootstrapped this company. You're also telling me that you're a creator on LinkedIn. And one of the interesting aspects of that is, you're not doing the normal, how I grew my company or, how I build the culture of the company kind of content, but you're actually focusing on, what is it like to be a CEO? What's the life of a CEO? How do you spend your weekends? And I thought that was a really interesting, approach to content creation. So I'm really excited to have you here today and dive into all those details.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Brian, for having me on the show. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. We spoke bits and pieces here and there. I'm looking forward to see how this podcast is going to pan out. Yeah, so let's get started.
Yeah, let's do it. So why don't we start just kind of going through what your company does? I think we were maybe going to focus more on your product document 360, but if you could just kind of give an overview of your company just to kind of explain what you do.
Yeah, sure. From the name and from my look and feel, you can see I'm originally from India. So I moved back to UK. I live in London back in 2000. So it's a typical, you might know, the IT guy finding a job either in the US or UK. And then that's how I moved into UK. I came to UK, not in US, because at that time, I don't know whether it changed now, that back in 2000, you need to have like a 4 years degree for you to even apply for a visa to US. But I only had like a BSc in electronics, which is like a 3 years degree. So the best I can do is UK. That is how I ended up in UK. The first 10 years or so, I was working like a typical IT consultant, doing some consulting work for large companies like Microsoft, Accenture, Fidelity, those kind of companies. And I was specialized in this one particular area called Microsoft Desktop Server. It is a product from Microsoft. It's used by large companies to connect multiple systems together. So when I say multiple systems, today the modern businesses are run with 20 different software, right? Nobody runs the entire business with one gigantic software product. So you'll have a SAP at one end to do all the ERP work, and you'll have Salesforce at other end, and then you have PeopleSoft, and then Workday, and a bunch of products to run the business. The problems typically what large companies face, at some point, they all need to talk to each other. You might need a customer data from your SAP system into your Salesforce, and from Salesforce, some data need to go into your Workday and all these things. So that is where the specialty of this Microsoft product, it sits in the middle, it connects everything together and helps you to build that kind of integrated systems. So I was working as a consultant, building those systems for this large organizations for 10 years. And I identified a lot of gaps when it comes to enterprise, the security aspects and monitoring and analysis and day-to-day challenges. And this is how I started the initial company. I never thought, it turned into a business because I'm coming from a more technical background. So it just started more like a hobby project, and then slowly I got the traction. In fact, I built the entire product myself. I spent 1 year. I went part-time. That time I was working for Fidelity Investments. I went part-time. I was doing three days working and 2 days plus weekend building this product. It took me a year to build a V1 of the product. And then I took it to the market. And since I spent 10 years, I know exactly the pain points. And then on day one, the product what I built became like a proper product market fit. And then I got the first customer within the third week from Hong Kong, like no connection. They found out, and that's how the company got started. So you mentioned about Document 360. I need to jump quickly to that. So this was where, between 2011 and 2015, Bootstrap 360, the first product was the only product. And then we started the second product called Turbo 360. And around 2017, end of 2017 is when we need to build a knowledge base for these products. So like these two enterprise products require like a product documentation and then API documentation. And we were using something from our customer support product, and then we kind of outgrown what the capabilities of that. So I think typically what happens is the product documentation is done through customer support product like Zendesk or Freshdesk or Intercom or a Help Scout or a bunch of things. But once you have like a team of 5-10 people writing content full time, the capabilities are not great in those things. And that is where I found a gap in the market. Like one side, you have this add-on products from customer support products. On the other side, you need to have like a extremely complex products like a headless CMS and then Adobe FrameMaker and a bunch of things on the right side. So there's nothing in the middle where you need to have the ease of use from them and then the complexity and the advanced feature sets from the right side. And that is where I found the niche in the market. And we did a hackathon, we built the product. And then today, nearly half of the company, over 160 people working on Document 360. So, we kind of got some really good brands like people might know Midjourney. So Midjourney is a Gen AI image company, and their documentation is actually running on our platform. It's like it's 50-60 million hits per month kind of a scale is what we are providing them. And the other lot of notable names like Netflix, Yahoo, G2, VMware, they all using Document 360. So we shifted the focus now. A lot of focus is on Document 360. And also there is a story around how the name Go came, because initially we are one product and then we gone into 2-3 products, and it became an identity crisis. Like, okay, how do you represent yourself? We got 3 different products, and then we put a umbrella brand on the top. Around 2018 is when we rebranded ourselves as Go, and then we tucked in all the products underneath it. So I think I had just gone full swing with your one question. Like we'll take it from here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's an awesome story. And the first thing that I thought to ask you is how, I love the story when founders write their first version of their product themselves, just buckle down, work day and night and weekends to get the product out the door, for that first version. And I'm always curious, it goes both ways, but how much of your code from that time is still in production today?
There's still a lot of the multiple products. The third product, Document 360, I haven't written a single line of code. It's a third product. By the time the company was super matured, and then we had like 35 engineers of the team, and it's completely. But I operated as a product owner for the first 2 years, and then now today, like it's fully run by the team. But the first product, Bootstrap 360, I'll say like still like 40% of the code is mine, but I don't actively do anything, and people are taking care of it. Even there are certain areas we call it as black box in the company. Like nobody touches it. Like okay, that piece of the components, like it will work. Don't touch it. They're still there. Like some of them nobody knows, but it's all deep inside that. But that's how it is.
Every code base always has that one, section that's just like magic, and there's no there's no, like, no one really knows, like, all right, how do we work with this piece? And
it's been running for 12 years or so. Like, said, okay, there is nothing you need to change in that piece of components, just leave it alone. Like it will work.
Well, I guess you did good architecture with it then, because it sounds like it's pretty, separation of concerns is probably pretty good if it's still working like that.
Absolutely. I think I'm very proud of because I'm a hardcore techie. Like maybe one thing I didn't mention is Microsoft got a program called Most Valuable Professional. It's MVP, so they call it. It's like I think every company now got tech companies got something. I think Amazon got something like Amazon Heroes or something like that. So I'm one among them. That means like for this particular technology, only 20 people in the world got the title MVP for this BizTalk server, and I still hold it after 17 years. And this is not like an exam. So Microsoft, they choose to whom they wanted to give that award. So I'll say like I'm one of those guys. I think most of the founders are like that, right? Coming from tech background, I'm more inclined towards tech rather than the business side of things. Yeah.
That's amazing. Have you ever read the book 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing?
I think I read the book, but I can't recollect exactly the topics inside. Yeah.
I read it so long ago and I just started rereading it recently. And there's this, I think it's in one of the first chapters. There's this really funny statement. The book came out in 1994. And there's this really funny thing they say. They're talking about like Lotus Notes, the company Lotus, and they're comparing Lotus.
I'm coming from the era. I used Lotus Notes back in 97, 98. This is pre Microsoft Exchange, and that was a email server and client we used.
Yeah, so they're talking about Lotus Notes, and they're comparing Lotus to Microsoft, and they're saying they're saying Lotus's advantage in the market is that they're the first groupware product that is serving the enterprise use case, and they're like this is probably going to give Lotus Notes a competitive advantage over Microsoft for years to come.
Yeah. I think I think IBM acquired it, and then I don't know what happened. It's gone dead, I guess. Yeah.
It's fresh in my mind, but obviously that statement didn't age too well. So cool. Let's go into multi-product, because that's really fascinating to me that you got multi-product to work, especially at the bootstrapped company. We were just talking about how there's all this debate around multi-product. Should you just focus on one product? Should you have multiple products? What are the advantages or disadvantages to doing that? So in terms of your multi-product journey, what would you say are the key insights that you have to share around that?
Yeah, sure. I think this is one of the hot topics. Typically, whenever people see me in conferences or a founders group, this is a common question I get because it's not very common. Somebody running a multi-product company. There are pros and cons to it. I will tell you the story. Like we started off with the one product, and then it just sequentially we found the multiple products. So in our case, like it's basically like finding the opportunities and then going after it. In the first case, like the one product to two product, it's I got two different stories for these two products. The first story is like the BizTalk 360. It's actually a very niche product. The Microsoft themselves got only about 10,000 customers worldwide, and that is our total addressable market. So after spending 5 years building a value-added product for this, you kind of saturated in terms of what else can you add to your product, because it reached a stage where anything you add after this is going to be like a more like a bloated thing. Like you solved all the core problems what you wanted to solve, and most are nice to have. In our case, we built an awesome team by that time. Like I spent 5 years as a founder. You can imagine a founder spending with the initial set of people for 5 years. You build a really core team. And I felt it's a risk of losing them if I don't do anything, because I'm coming from an engineering background. I know how engineers, they'll get bored if you don't feed them with good engineers, especially, if you don't feed them with the right problems or right challenges, they will get bored. And that was constituted to the first product, Turbo 360. It's a Azure cost optimization and cloud management product. And that is where it's a natural progression for us. Like Microsoft is shifting towards cloud, and everything was Azure. And then they're not interested in the on-premise products anymore. So we shifted towards cloud, and that is how we gone into the second product. But the third product, it's we found a market opportunity. I think normally when companies going single product to multi-product, they will go and build products that are adjacent to their core products, because you wanted to keep the buyer persona same, because you don't want to go and market in a different for different personas, different things. They typically go like adjacent ones. In our case, we didn't follow any of those rules. We just went after, like a market opportunity. So if you look at that, there's nothing that connects Document 360 with the other two products. It's even like the go-to-market strategy is also different between these two segments. The Bootstrap 360 and Turbo 360 are more sales-led products, long sales cycles. We deal with the large enterprises typically, and it'll take months to do it. On the other hand, Document 360 is very simple. Like you mentioned, you're using Notion for it, something similar. People can sign up and they can start writing, and within like 10 minutes, you'll be able to publish an online documentation for your product. It's more product led. So in our case, we didn't follow any of those rules. We just found an opportunity and then we went ahead. If a lot of your audience are looking at it like, okay, tell me what should I do, like based on your experience, then the recommendation is, like a lot of times you may be fine with just one product, like depending on how big you want to scale. There are companies out there who's scaled into billions of revenue with one product. I can give a simple example. Calendly is one example, right? It's a very simple. It's even a very simple product as well. It's not even really complicated product, but that I think the market valuation is like 5 billion or something for Calendly, right? So if you look at that in that angle, you really don't need to have multiple products. If you have a nailed down a single product with a huge market cap and the product market fit, one product will be good enough. And a lot of times it's a better suggestion because, like you can condense your focus in terms of your marketing budget, and then your thought process, and everything can be in this one direction. Because in our case, we run it like 3 different companies internally, like separate teams. You mentioned you have three companies. We are in a similar kind of a boat. I need to wear different hats on different occasions. But luckily, I scaled the teams, and today it's all run by really good people. They take care of it, but almost like 3 different businesses internally. So the simple advice will be, stick with one product as long as possible. Only when you see you saturated that market, or you find something adjacent, you go sideways. So in our case, in the first 6 years, there's only one product, and that's what helped. I think that is what helping us today to have that kind of cash flow, and then growing the company from the one product to multi products.
Yeah, and you answered my first question, which was going to be, do you have totally separate go-to-market teams? It sounds like, to do, to a lot of multi-product companies, you're right. I think they try to focus on the same ICP, the same customer persona for each of their products. So they're basically like, they're just upselling, like they make the new product and they already have an audience to just immediately upsell the add-on to. Yeah. Whereas in your case, you have kind of 2 products that are in one bucket, and then this third product, which you said is about half of your business from, I'm assuming revenue, but you said headcount focus is about half of your business.
I think now headcount, revenue, everything, I would say pretty much half off. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big chunk, and that's like a totally different, you said product like growth, and totally separate go-to-market team. What would you say, like, what's your recommendation for founders that are considering multi-products? Like what should your minimum ARR be before you consider a second product?
I will say stick to a single product as long as possible. And you do it only you think you saturated your primary product. Most of the times you won't saturate. You basically sometimes you'll get both. Or you don't think deep enough. There may be a lot of opportunities good to just keep it one product but go after different markets. I can give an example. Document 360, it's a very horizontal product. Anybody can use it, right? I can at one side it could be large enterprise, the other side it could be healthcare company, it could be a construction company, it could be like a SaaS companies. So today maybe we are focusing. The product is same. Today we are going after all the SaaS companies, and then that is the market we are focusing. And the next step, instead of us building another product, we can pick, okay, let's do very focused GTM motions against healthcare companies. The product is same, but you fine tune your messaging and your landing pages, and you look like you're a product that's built for healthcare company, but the core product is still the same, right? So I will say, like, before you touch the next product, you think deep. Really, do you want to touch it? Because building products, first 2 years is a honeymoon period, right? You can happily sit down and build products, and then exciting times. But once you go to the want to make money, that is when the real thing starts. Like it's so you don't want to. And it can go either way. And maybe we didn't cover one of the topics in our notes. We recently killed a product. We spent 4 years building it, nearly 50 member, few millions investment, and then we killed it. And like that can happen as well. So you need to be careful before you touch multiple products.
Yeah. I want to dive into that. But just to reiterate something you said, you hit the nail on the head that I was thinking, which is, there's kind of like two ways you can think about a SaaS product, either verticalized or horizontal. And, like a Calendly or, like a Document 360 or, a QuickBooks, those are like horizontal SaaS products. And, I think once you kind of feel like, I think horizontal focus, like just purely horizontal focus worked, a decade or 2 decades ago better than it does now. And I think in order to go to market well with a horizontal product, you kind of have to like put it into verticals. So you have to say, even if the product itself is horizontal, you still have to like market and sell it as, healthcare focus or, tech focus or, maybe construction or whatever the vertical is. And then if you've got a verticalized product, like a product that's initially designed for one industry, then I think the expansion opportunities, you have to like figure out what other sort of similar industries you can move it to. So you just kind of do one vertical at a time. But I think the challenge doing it that way, it probably, I've seen a trend with a lot of SaaS companies where they're coming out verticalized. So everything about their marketing and even down to their product feature set is verticalized for that specific vertical. But the challenge to go into a new vertical is that you kind of have to like, it's a different ICP, it's a different buyer persona. So you kind of have to like, even if the product can just be copy and pasted, you still have to like redo all of your marketing and your sales efforts to make that expansion.
No, absolutely, because the customers, they don't have the time to like as a founder, you will know there is a use case for that particular industry, but the customers don't see it that way. So it's very important to get the packaging and messaging right so that they understand this product can be used for their use case. So that takes effort. And branding is generally very expensive, time consuming. For you to position yourself as, okay, this is a knowledge management product for construction industry is a big game. For you to get there, it takes a lot of effort.
I want to take a quick break from the episode and say, if you're enjoying this content, the best way you can say thank you is to subscribe. So if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you're on one of the podcast platforms, hit the subscribe button there as well. And also share it out to your friends and colleagues. If you find this content useful and you think other people will enjoy it as well, please send it out. And back to the episode. So let's dive into that product that got killed. So what was like the hypothesis on the product going in? And then, I guess how long were you in R&D? How long did you try to sell it? And then, how far did you get and why did you decide that it wasn't working?
Yeah, sure. I think a product is called Churn 360. So we started this back in January 2021. So the hypothesis there was, okay, everything is SaaS business now. Like everybody wants a recurring revenue and subscription businesses. And customer retention is going to be the number one thing in the future. We felt, okay, even today, the way it's called customer success, right? So the way it's been done is, there are a few tools in the market and there's an upcoming segment. People use a different method of ways of doing it. They typically use CRM like Salesforce to do customer success, and there are a lot of custom scripts and spreadsheets and this and that. And we thought, okay, maybe it will take 2 to 3 years to build the product anyway, because it's quite complex. You're trying to build a CRM, and it's almost like what happened to the CRM market 20 years ago. That's our that's our assumption. Okay, people need something like that for customer success, and then we went ahead and started building the product. So we invested, we hired a lot of people, and then we spent almost 3 years. That's what I mentioned. It's a honeymoon period, right? 2 to 3 years, you can happily sit, because you're not going to hit the market. You're going to happily sit and build the product. That's what happened. 50 members, and then like a lot of server cost, and then we pretty much finished the product. We wanted the product was ready, and then we started hitting the market, and that is when we started seeing the challenges. The sales cycle was so long, and a product like this, you'll get the benefit out of it only when they connect all their systems together. The idea is you give a 360-degree view of your customer, and you'll know exactly whether that customer is going to stick with you or it's going to churn because they didn't log into the system, and they had a lot of support tickets, and the payment was failing and all those kind of things. But the challenge is, inside an organization, all these departments are owned by different people. The head of sales is owning your CRM. Your finance is owning Stripe. Your product engineering guy is owning the product. And for them all to come together and say, and connect to your system is a very, very difficult task to do it. And then, it's not going anywhere. Even if the customer, one other guy in the business would decide, okay, like we need a customer success, and then we will buy it. For them to, convince everybody and connect everything and make it work, the onboarding was taking so long. So we did, even reach a revenue stage, we were, I think slightly over 50K ARR revenue within like few months. And it felt like it would take another 2-3 years or more to even see something meaningful. And I thought, okay, when other products are doing well, especially Document 360, let's focus our energy there. Let's not burn ourselves. We could have made it work. If we had spent another 3 years, probably we would have made it work. But it's about focus and saying, hey, let's focus on things that's working today, rather than betting on something that may or may not work in 3 years. And we killed it. We literally burned few millions. And we just reshuffled the team. And then now I feel really feel good about the decision, because now we are going super fast on Document 360. The amount of features we can add and the amount of AI stuff we are adding to Document 360 is mind blowing. We're kind of becoming category leader in that space now, because none of the other guys in that segment got the bandwidth what we have, like 160 people working on a product in that segment. Like nobody even close. That we can imagine we can scale much faster.
Yeah, it's an interesting space. I don't know if you know Guru, the knowledge-based platform.
Yeah. But their positioning is different. We don't really compete with them. They are more like a internal knowledge, and they have cards and stuff like that. Our use case is very simple. Like if you want a product knowledge base, right? docs.yourcompany.com, we provide it. And it may look simple, but the use cases are very, you need to provide version control and some kind of editorial workflow, and then SEO optimization, localization, language support, and then, it goes on and on and on. So that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Guru is based here in Philly, where I'm from, and Rick's the founder. He's a good friend of mine, and I've been hearing a lot about exactly what you're talking about, like all these AI features that can be just kind of like unlocked in the products.
Yeah.
And he was sharing with me that there's all these everyone and their mother is like building an AI wrapper SaaS these days, but when you have like a deep product, when you have like a SaaS product that's been around for 5-10 years, and you have like a deeply entrenched customer base, and you just like roll out these killers, AI features, even if they're just like, an API call to OpenAI, when you roll out these features and deliver this like AI, feature set value to your customers, it just like even deepens your moat in the space. And it's really like, it's cool, like what's happening with tech. I think there's like another way, like, similar, like the mobile device wave, like there's another wave that's right on our doorstep right now. And it's super exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's actually, AI is a perfect fit for us, Because a lot of companies, as you said, they're trying to bend their product to, or just to try to squeeze AI somewhere in the product. It's not really natural fit for them. But in our case, it's a natural fit. Like we got a lot of AI capabilities that will help writers and editors, because they can say, okay, I want to outline this article, or, let's say, just give me a draft of my idea, or, expand this, collapse this, change it to active. The whole suite of AI capable for writer. And the most exciting thing for us is on the search capability. Like before, let's say our own knowledge base, docs.document360.com, where we write about all about our product. So if somebody comes and searched something like, how do I export my content into PDF? So before, it would have given you results like Google. Okay, these are the 5 articles. Go read it, and then you figure out the answer like how do you export to PDF. But today, if you go and search to the same search, we use AI, and then it gives you like, hey, this is how you do it, and and these are the 7 articles I reference for you to and given you this answer. So that's so super powerful, and it avoids support tickets raising, and we monitor the analytics very closely, and I can see a lot of times the problem is resolved right at the end. They don't need to, so for us, it's a perfect fit. Yeah, it's a perfect fit. Yeah.
It's awesome. So what did you, just one last question on the products that you killed. So did you sell it? Like, did you fire sell it? Did you just log into Azure and turn the servers off? Like, what did you do when you decided to kill it?
No, we still have it running, but the product is technically, officially it's closed, and we ourselves were one of the biggest customers. Like internally, we were using it for our own customer support, because we were like a guinea pigs, and then the 3 products, the customer success product is actually Journ 360. That is how we build the learning and then build it. So we still use it. The Azure is running, and then we still spend the Azure bill, etc. But all the external customers, we let them go. We found home for them elsewhere. Eventually we will probably we will move on to a new platform as well. But for time being, it's still running inside here.
Okay,
and
cool.
We relocated most of them. We had to let go of very small group. But 70% of them we just retained, and then we reshuffle. That's the advantage of multi-product company. We are able to reshuffle them within multiple products.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about bootstrapping. I think it's super awesome. Like anytime I hear about, SaaS companies that have achieved scale, and especially bootstrapping it, it's certainly very hard to build a SaaS company, because, there's a ton of upfront R&D. And then, when you do start getting customers, typically it's like small chunks of money on a monthly basis. It's not like you're selling a big consulting contract where you have a huge down payment. So, it takes a while to kind of get the steam engine going to be profitable. So, like, why did you bootstrap? Why didn't you raise capital? And, how did you fund the company? Like, how did all that get going?
Yeah, sure. I won't say, people think, it's my objective or a motto, I shouldn't take money, but it didn't work like that way. Like, basically it was a kind of an accident. The first product I started, the few challenges. One, it's a very niche market, and then people are not aware. Not all companies are in VC investable businesses, right? For a VC to put their money in, they're looking at your TAM should be really big. You need to show them a really good exit in 7 years time or 10 years time. So that product itself was not really a VC fundable business. So I didn't have a choice. So I just, started. And as I said, I was doing it on my own. That is first point. And the second point is, the ticket sizes were reasonably good. We're not talking about $100 per month, the $200 per month product. So it's in the 10-15K kind of a mark per annum. So it's a ARR at that point, it's 10-15K ARR business. And when you're a one single guy, if you close 5 customers a month, right? That's a lot of money. That's what happened. Straight away, there was a product market fit, and I started getting customers straight away. And then it started self-venting.
What year was this, by the way?
This is 2011-12. Yeah.
And there was no other SaaS on the market doing what you were doing at that time?
Even today they don't. That's but the problem is it is one of a heavily technical product. It's almost like you can imagine like a security companies, right? Like not anybody can go and build a security product. Okay, you can go and build a Calendly, but you cannot go and build a cybersecurity product if you don't have a domain knowledge. So I built a product out of 10 years of my experience, deep experience. So it's not somebody can just jump and start replicating what I have done. So that is one thing. And also it's a very small market. So it's a very big bet for anybody to come and jump and see, like, it's not that you can do it. So those things favored me. And that's what, where I ended up. And the customer acquisition cost was fairly low. I was acquiring customers through, going and talking in technical user groups and meetups. And then I was typical. I was acquiring customers through channels that won't scale, like one by one. And then, it just accumulated very, very quickly. And once you have 50 customers at that level, you got the cash flow coming. And then you can hire and then grow, hire and grow. And organically, I was able to build it. Today, it's harder. The honest answer is today, if you want to build it, it's much, much harder because the cost of acquiring customers has become super expensive now. And then cost of software engineers are expensive now. The cloud cost is expensive now. So everything is expensive. You need some capital. I don't think, you can start and try to traverse through it, but I'll say it's a pretty hard job here.
It is. Those things are true. There's also like efficiencies nowadays, like, Copilot, GitHub Copilot and, like software frameworks, modern software frameworks make building software way easier than 10 years ago. But I think 2010, 2011, this was starting to change. But, if you go all the way back to like 2000, the moat was always technology. Like if you could build the technology and take it to market, like that was your moat. Like the technology itself, like you had to rack servers, you had to, roll your own frameworks. Like that was the moat back then. And nowadays you just spin up like, you just install Node.js or Laravel or Ruby on Rails, and you've got like a full application scaffolding to like, you can write an app in like, a couple of weeks if you're really good and fast and, simple app. And, so like technology is no longer a moat. I think the moat nowadays, unless you have like some super difficult to get data that's core to your application, the technology itself is not the moat, but the moat is distribution of the technology, the ability to acquire customers. And, so I'm curious, like, and you said you're acquiring customers through methods that don't scale, like going to conferences, meetup groups, kind of talking to this niche community. And like, how do you do it? I mean, I assume you have a sales team today. Like, how do you do customer acquisition?
Different. The things I was telling you, the early days of how I built it. Today we operate like a VC funded business. We have like a huge marketing team, huge sales team, and the partnership, and then every single channel you can think of, like what a typical funded company will do. But those examples I was giving are very the early days, like when I was alone or a very small team. Those are the things that helped me to be bootstrapped for a long time. I think today we run it in a different way.
Yeah, that's cool. Would you ever raise money for any of your companies, or are you just like a bootstrapper for life?
No. It's again, I don't have a thesis of I'm going to be bootstrapped forever. I see the way I look at it is, if I'm taking money, I need to have a proper use case for that money. I don't want to take money and put it in the bank and then don't know what to do. And in fact, I take a lot of VC calls. I get a lot of inbound interest, and then, I go have a chat with them, and I give them all of them. I'll give you only one single answer. I don't need the money now. Let's check back after 6 months. That's my answer, standard answer. That's how I do it. Okay, who knows? Maybe 6 months later, if you find the right leverage and you can say like you can go much, much faster, if I can throw more money into it, then probably I will take it. Like, that's how I operate it.
That's cool. So what's like, we've been talking about, kind of how you got to where you are today and what you've done, but, going forward, like what's your vision for, Covey.co? And, do you have, do you have thoughts on expanding to more products, or are you just going to make these three really big, or what's
It's very clear. Like, I don't think we will touch another product for some time, unless otherwise, something comes along and opportunity we cannot miss. Maybe there's something so exciting, or you found a $1 billion gap in AI or something, like at the moment, I'm not thinking building other products, because the reason being, anything you touch, it takes 2 years for you to get to at least a reasonable scale. Do you have that much bandwidth for you to do that? The other way is, the three products what we have today are all like a proper revenue generating stage, and there's so much headroom for us to scale all these three products alone. So I'm looking at, like that's how, everything is happening. We are hiring like top executives, and then, like how do we scale faster? And it's majority of the focus is on the growth and GTM and scaling, and that is how the thinking is. So it's very, very, very clear, like as far as I can see, we're not going to touch a new product, keep scaling the current products, and then grow as fast as possible. Yeah.
awesome. That's cool. I think that's a good approach. So what advice, if you had any advice for like your 2010, 2011 self, like what advice would you go back and give to yourself back then?
Yeah, I would say it's, being persistent. Like people think a lot of times they think it's a overnight success, right? I'm sure when people listen to this podcast, a lot of them think you're lucky, or but it takes time. Anything, I might have mentioned time multiple times in this conversation. And I also have the one quote I keep repeating everywhere is from Bill Gates. People overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I am an example here. It took 10 years for us to reach where we are. But, you need to be patient, and then be prepared for a long journey. If it's not something, if you want quick bucks in next 2 months or something, probably, entrepreneurship is not the right thing. You need to love what you're doing. You need to fall in love with the problems, not the solution. That's another great book. If you're looking for a book recommendation, once you love the problem, the space you are in, and the passion to fix the problem, everything will come along. Yeah.
That's great advice. Saravana, anything you want to plug? Do you want to plug any of your companies, or is there anything, you want to plug as we're closing out here?
No, I think all I will say is, for majority of the audience, please check it out, Document 360. It's a very horizontal product. There are so many use cases. Today, we in fact run our entire business in Document 360. So all our internal meeting notes, and then process documents, and standard operating procedures, and user manuals, and engineering drawings, all our product knowledge bases, API documentation, everything is running on Document 360. And a lot of other customers doing it as well. So if you find it interesting, please check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, check out Document 360, people.
Cash flow? Did you clear your cash flow?